Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imagine a world where the birth of a daughter was seen as a burden, as a shame, and in some tribes, daughters were buried alive. A world where women had no voice, no legal rights, no protection. Arabia, more than 1400 years ago, was a society built on tribal power and male dominance. A woman's worth was often valued for bearing children, her beauty, and her lineage. And yet, in that very society, there lived a woman whom people trusted, respected, and honored. Her name was Khadija bint Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anha, the strength behind Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Her life was not extraordinary because she lived outside the system, but because she lived within it. She faced the same system, the same culture, and the same limits as other women. But what made her different was how she chose to respond. And that is why her story still matters today. To understand her strength, we have to go back to her early life, to how she was raised, to how her thinking was shaped long before Islam, long before revelation. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, whose name means the one born early, was born prematurely into a noble Quraysh family in Mecca. Her father, Khalid ibn Asad, was a respected and successful merchant known for discipline and integrity, and her mother was Fatima bint Zaida. She grew up in a household where trade, responsibility, and reputation were part of everyday life. From an early age, she saw how trust was earned, how agreements were honored, and how a person's name could carry weight in society. At a time when educating girls was extremely rare, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was given access to education. Her teacher was her cousin Warqa ibn Nawfal, a man known for his sincerity and his knowledge of earlier scriptures. He was someone who did not simply accept what society followed, but reflected, questioned, and searched. Under his guidance, young Khadija learned not just words and letters, but how to reflect, how to seek truth, and how to think deeply. It trained her to listen carefully, to think before reacting, and to take matters seriously. So later in her life, when the Prophet ﷺ returned from the cave, shaken by what he had experienced, she did not panic or dismiss it. She listened carefully, thought deeply, and responded with certainty. As she grew older, people noticed her beauty, but what set her apart was her character, her calmness, her fairness, her ability to think before acting. And because of this, the people of Makkah gave her a title, At-Tahira, the Pure One. Not because she lived apart from society, but because she carried herself with integrity within it. This reputation stayed with her and shaped how people trusted her choices. As she grew older, proposals came from many respected men of Quraysh, but none were accepted at that time. Eventually, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha married Abu Hala, a man known for his honesty and good character. But they lived together only for a few years. Then he passed away, leaving her widowed with two sons. After some time, she married Atiq ibn Az al-Makhzumi. About this marriage there are different narrations. Some say they separated due to incompatibility, while others say he passed away not long after the birth of their daughter. Either way, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha found herself alone once more, twice widowed, with children to raise in a society where a woman's survival was usually tied to a man. This was not a small trial. And this is where her strength began to show. She did not rush into dependence, nor did she collapse under loss. She faced responsibility early, marriage, motherhood, the grief, and carried it with composure. She did not allow personal loss to stop her from fulfilling her duties. These experiences shaped her strength quietly. Patience became part of her character and taught her how to stand firm. So when she later faced far greater trials, persecution, boycott, and sacrifice, this foundation was already there. After facing loss and responsibility early in life, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha did not step back from life. Instead, she looked at what she had, the inheritance left to her, and decided how to use it wisely. She chose to work through trade, at a time when it was uncommon for women to manage business matters. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha managed her wealth with care and clarity. She did not travel with the caravans personally, but she appointed trustworthy men and represent her and set clear terms for her trade. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha did not pay fixed wages to those who traded on her behalf. Instead, she worked through a system of profit sharing known as mudaraba, where traders received a share of the profit. Her caravans traveled to places like Syria and Yemen, and they became known for their success. But that success was not built on greed or shortcuts. It was built on trust. People knew her word mattered. Agreements made in her name were honored. Those who worked for her were treated fairly, and this is why her trade flourished. She understood people, she understood responsibility, and she understood that wealth, when handled with integrity, could become a means of stability not only for herself but for others as well. It came from clear thinking, honest dealing, and steady effort. As her business continued to grow, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha needed people she could trust to lead her caravans on long journeys. In Makkah, people often spoke about a young man known for his honesty. They called him Al-Amin, the trustworthy one, and his name was Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha chose him to take one of her trade caravans to Syria. She also sent her servant Maysara to travel with him. The journey went well and the trade was successful. But when they returned to Makkah, it was not the profit that mattered most. Maysara spoke to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha about what he had seen. He told her how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam dealt honestly in every transaction, stayed calm in difficult moments, and was careful with what had been entrusted to him. He also mentioned a few things that stood out to him. During the journey, a Jewish monk noticed the Prophet ﷺ resting under a tree and said that no one had rested beneath this tree except the Prophet. Maisara also noticed that the Prophet ﷺ was shaded from the heat along the way. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha listened quietly to all of this. What stayed with her was not just what was said, but what it confirmed. The honesty she had already heard about was now seen firsthand. She took her time with this, and slowly these observations settled in her heart, leading her toward a decision that would change her life. And while Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was still thinking about what she had seen and heard, she had a dream. She saw a radiant sun descend from the sky and enter her home, filling it with light. When she awoke, she went to her cousin Warqa ibn Nawfal for the interpretation. He said to her that the light she had seen was a sign that a prophet would enter her home and that would be honored by his presence. This stayed with her. With everything she had heard and everything she already knew, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha began to think seriously. What stayed with her was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's honesty, his character, and the trust people placed in him. They were not new qualities, but now they were clear and consistent. Even so, this was not an easy step. She had already declined proposals from many respected men of Quraysh, choosing not to rush such a decision and waiting for what felt right. At the same time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was younger than her and unmarried. It was at this point that her close friend Nafisa belonging to Minna noticed her concern and offered to speak on her behalf. So Nafisa went to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, "What keeps you from marriage, O Muhammad?" He replied that he did not have the financial means. His concern was responsibility. He didn't want to enter marriage without being able to fulfill it properly. She then said, "What if there is a woman, noble, wealthy, and of great character, who would be honored to marry you?" So he asked who she meant. She replied, "Khadija bint Khalid." And he said, that if she agreed, then he was willing. Soon after, his uncles approached Khadija's uncle, Amr ibn Asad, and the proposal was accepted. Their marriage was simple and dignified. At the time, the Prophet ﷺ was 25 years old and Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was 40. According to the most narrations, he was younger than her, yet age did not stand in the way. This marriage was not shaped by status or social pressure. It was built on trust, respect, shared values, and responsibilities, and it became a source of peace and stability for both of them. At the time of the marriage, Halima Sadiya, the woman who had cared for the Prophet ﷺ when he was a child, traveled from her village to attend the wedding. And when she was about to leave, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha gave her gifts, household items, animals, and provisions. It was her way of looking after the people who had been part of his life and showing gratitude to them. After their marriage, life moved on. The Prophet ﷺ would often leave Makkah and go to the cave of Hira. He would spend time there in quiet reflection, away from the noise of the city. And Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha understood his need for this time. She understood his habit of spending time in reflection. She supported him without questioning it, preparing food and water and making sure he was cared for. Then one night, while he was in the cave, something happened that he had never experienced before. A light filled the cave. The angel Jibril appeared and said, "Read." He replied, "I cannot read." Again he was told to read, and he replied again, "I cannot read." And then came the words that would change humanity forever. "Ikra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq, Ikra wa rabbukal akram, allazi allama bil kalam, allamal insana ma lam ya'lam." After this encounter, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ returned home shaken and afraid, calling out, "Cover me, cover me." Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha wrapped him in a blanket, and as he calmed down, he told her what he had just experienced. She listened. She did not doubt him. She did not hesitate. She spoke with confidence and reassured him, saying, "By Allah, Allah will never disgrace you. You uphold the ties of kinship, you help the poor, you serve your guests, and you only speak the words of faith." And her words calmed his heart. And from that moment, revelation began. Then she took him to her cousin Varka ibn Nawfal. After listening, Varka told him that the one who had come to him was the same angel who had come to Musa. Then he said, "I wish I could be alive on the day when your people will drive you out, so that I could stand by you." The Prophet Muhammad (SAW) asked him in surprise, "Will they really drive me out?" Varka replied that no one has ever brought a message like this without being opposed. At that moment, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha responded to the message that had come to him. She accepted the truth of what he had received, and she became the first believer in Islam. During these years, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was not only standing beside the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in faith, but she was holding the home together. She cared for their daughters, Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. She also looked after Ali ibn Abi Talib, who was still young, and treated Zaid ibn Harisha like her own son. While the Prophet ﷺ carried the weight of the masses, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha carried the weight of daily life, the home, the children, and those under her care. She did this quietly, without complaint. As the Prophet ﷺ began calling people to Islam, most turned away, some mocked him, some called him mad, and slowly hatred began to grow. The persecution became intense. And through all of this, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha stayed with. Then came the boycott. The Quraysh imposed a ruthless boycott, cutting off trade, support, and even food. Because of this, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala, and the early Muslims were forced to leave their homes and live in the valley of Shia Abu Talib. They lived there for 3 long years. Those 3 years were extremely hard. Children cried from starvation, men and women survived on leaves, grass, and whatever little they could find. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, who once lived in ease, now lived like this, hungry, tired, tested. But she did not step back. She spent what she had to help the believers. When there was food, she shared it. When there was nothing, she stayed patient. She did not complain, she did not break, she stayed firm. And through those years of hardship, her quiet strength became a shield for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and a support for the believers. And even before all of this, before a revelation came, when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would spend long hours alone in worship and reflection in the cave of Hira, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha supported him in her own way. She would prepare food and water and climb that mountain herself to bring it to him. And she was around 55 years old at that time. Imagine that climb, those sharp rocks, that height. Yet she still did it again and again out of pure love and support. She never let distance, exhaustion, or age stop her from standing by him. And in the midst of all of this, after the message had come, as hardship and opposition continued, Allah honored her in a way no other woman of this ummah was honored. One day, Jibreel Amin came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, O Messenger of Allah, Khadija is coming to you with food and drink. When she comes, convey to her the greetings of peace from her Lord and from me, and give her the glad tidings of a house in paradise made of pearl, where there will be no noise and no fatigue. What an honor that the Lord of the world sent his salam to her by name. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha passed away 3 years before the Hijrah. She was 65 years old. By that time, she had spent almost 25 years standing beside the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through ease and hardship, before Islam and after revelation. During boycott, she spent her wealth to support the believers. By the end of her life, the woman who once among the wealthiest in Quraysh had nothing left, but she had no regret. She had given everything she had for Allah and for the mission she believed in. When her final days came, the Prophet ﷺ sat with her and reminded of Allah's mercy and promise. She looked at him calmly, with eyes full of love, and in that quiet moment, her soul returned to her Creator. That year became known as Amul Hijr, the year of sorrow. Even after she was gone, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was never forgotten. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam carried her memory with deep love and gratitude, always honoring what she had done for him and for Islam. Whenever someone bought him a gift, he would send it to one of Khadija's old friends just out of her love. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha once said, whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam slaughtered a goat, he would send some of it to Khadija's friend. And one day she asked him about it, and he said, I have great regard for her friend, as she has a special place in my heart. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha later said that she never felt this kind of natural feminine jealousy for any other wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the way she felt for Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, even though she had never seen her, because of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke of her so often and praised her so much. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha left behind no palace, no wealth, no inheritance. She left behind faith. She left behind loyalty. She left behind the example of a woman who believed when it was hardest, gave when it cost the most, and stood firm when no one else did. She was not only the first believer, she was the strength behind the message. May Allah be pleased with her. Jazakallah khair.